What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show. Me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today I am here to review the PFL Europe 3 2024 playoffs, which went down on September 28, 2024 in the OVO Hydro in Glasgow, Scotland. And this was a card. Do you know what now? I usually come in here and go, all right, this was a bad card, this was a good card, this is an okay card, this started well, it ended well, it was bad in the middle, it was bad at the start. Do one of them. I find it very hard to say anything here apart from Lewis McGrillen versus Dean Garnett. I think it's fight of the year. Honestly, I think that's where you have to start. I think that's where you have to end. This fight was amazing. It was standout. It was the reason why you tune into these cards. You know, if you're, I know the UFC was on at the same time, maybe we can discuss that in a while, but let's say if you did watch the UFC, at kind of the opposite of what I did, and you'd shout out to people, go, here, what should I watch from the PFL card? Like I went to shout out, what should I watch from the UFC card? And I didn't get much of an answer. But if you were to ask me that question, who watched this PFL card live, the first thing you're going to say is Lewis McGrillen versus Dean Garnett, because this was one of the best fights I've seen ever. I wouldn't go as far as to say. Definitely, I think it's fight of the year. I saw a few other people saying it, because sometimes, you know, you get maybe carried away or whatever. But I think it was, because I've been keeping a list, and honestly, I think it's probably the top of the list. Now, there were some other fights as well there was some very good fights, some very good technical fights, some fun fights, but I don't know, was there one as kind of back and forth as this? You know, a lot of people, I have maybe a different way of looking at my fight of the year standings. A lot of people would probably go, here, Shawnee, what about Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje? But for me, that was a very one-sided fight. That was almost performance of the year more than fight of the year. And like, there's a few others obviously as well. And it probably won't end it at the end of the year, because probably, you know, the enough people didn't watch it maybe, or the big boys who cover MMA, you know, won't watch it, won't be top of the narrative. But I think for a lot of, you see the Capozas, you see people like that, you see Shaky Shore out there saying this is one of the best domestic fights he's ever seen. It was an absolutely unbelievable back and forth fight between kind of the young up and comer and the guy that's been there for a good while. And you know what? I said I'm going to start with it. I am going to start with it, because this is, you know, this could have been the main event. I suppose it was the top tournament fight, if you want to say that, season fight. And God Almighty, that finale is going to be unbelievable. We'll get to that in a second. But like, you look at McGrillen coming into the fight at 8-1. You know, he had obviously fought a good few times in the PFL already, and he'd fought the likes of Wesley. He lost that fight. You know, he fought Matthias Zaharovs, who was on this card earlier on. We'll talk about that in a while. And, you know, he'd only debuted in 2021, but had a long amateur career before that. You know, and Dean Garnett's almost the exact opposite of that. Now, he hasn't had a load of fights or anything like that, but Dean made his debut back in 2010. You know, he's obviously been in there in the big Cage Warriors fights against the likes of Martin Sheridan back in the day. He fought in Bellator and ACB, and, you know, has been in there with Magomedov and Dominic Wooding, who was a Cage Warriors champion, and many others down through the years. And, you know, okay, he took a few years off there, but he came back and he won 3 in a row in Hex two in Hex, 1 in Brave in 2023. So he's on this great run again. And, you know, you put the two of these lads in there together, and it just made for one of the most incredible fights you'll ever see. So if you didn't see it, honestly, I take notes for all these fights, and, you know, usually it's pretty straightforward taking notes. You know what you're doing. But this is one of these fights I'm like, I didn't take enough notes because I kind of get enthralled by it, and I was like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be taking notes for this. But it's the fight started off, Dean Garnett landed a few calf kicks, and he knocked Lewis over with one of them. I'm thinking, okay, Jesus, because I believe Lewis came in as a pretty sizable enough favour. In my mind, he's a pretty sizable enough favour anyway. I think an awful lot of him. I think he's a very, very good prospect. But so I was like, okay, good start for Dean here. And Lewis wasn't landing much, but then he landed this massive left hand that knocked Dean Garnett down. And Dean was kind of flattened for a second. I was like, okay, this is what I was expecting. This one's over. Dean gets back up, flattens him a second. I'm okay, this is definitely over now. But he survived, and I've no idea how he survived. Landed big ground upon, got back up. And then I need to go back and watch this again, but in my mind right now, listening to it, minutes after the event finishes. There was a double knockdown here. Both of them hit each other hard. And the madness for McGrillen started before that, but then the madness for everyone started after that. Lewis hurt him again after that, but not as bad. Dean kind of, he gnawed him down a little bit. He kind of slowed him down. He did very well to stay in there. And then he went for a guillotine. And Dean almost got that guillotine towards the end of it, but he didn't. And he went on to the second round. Second round, Dean Garnett knocked McGrillen down twice early in the second round. Then there was a low knee, but was it a low knee? There was a point taken. The point didn't matter in the end. But I think, look, it's everything but the soles of your feet, and I know they're changing at the moment, but to me, when he got hit when he was down, he had like the side of his foot, which is not the sole of your foot, and his calf down. So I do think it was enough for a point to be taken. I don't think he was hurt that much from it, so I wouldn't have said it, but I'm very anti-points being taken, so we leave that. Then Garnett landed a lovely body kick. One was locked down with a left hook. The other was knocked down with a left hook. I lost the run of who was knocked down where, but there were two knockdowns. Turned into an absolute war. Garnett was knocked down again. And then it was even for a couple of minutes. And there was a bit of a war towards the end of that round again. So if you're losing count here, so did I. I think someone said at one stage there was 9 knockdowns. No, I don't know if that was going overboard or not, but the start of the third round, absolutely insane exchanges. Dean landed a lovely straight right. Then there was a clinch from Lewis. And then as they were breaking away from the clinch, Lewis landed his big left hand and put him down and put him to sleep, and the referee came in and he stopped it. And I think it was a good stoppage at that stage. It was 1:45 of the third round. So an absolutely epic back and forth fight, knockdown after knockdown after knockdown. The fight I referenced was Frankie Edgar versus Graham Maynard. It's so long since I watched it. It's a third fight, isn't it? Yeah, the mad one. I think it's the third one. But if you're watching this and you know the fight, you'll know which one it is anyway. But absolutely epic fight. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on DAZN in Ireland, the UK, and all of them. So if you I'm sure there's ways to find it. But if you're the PFL, you should be putting this up on YouTube straight away. You should be getting everyone to see this. Put it on fucking X or whatever. Even everyone should be watching this fight, because everyone should be thinking about this as a fight of the year contender. Because for me, it absolutely is. It was a brilliant, epic fight altogether. I loved it so much. Right, so let's do that overview of the card itself. Do you know what it was? It was a weird kind of card in that it started extremely fun. There was 3 finishes in a row, and then we had a spurt of 1, 2, 3, 4 decisions. Now, not all those fights are bad, and I will get into every one of them here, but it was one of those ones where it drains you a little bit, that you watch those 4 decisions in a row, and then you look it up, they show the rest of the card, and then there's 8 fights left. Is there? Was it 8 fights or something like that? So, no, let me just, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 fights left. So there were 14 fights in total. And it's 14 fights on a card is just too much. And I understand we're coming towards the end of the year and people need to get fights and everything, but it's just drags and it's too much. And I'll tell you what, and it's tough. You could have taken another few finishes, but if you make that a 10-fight card, take out those 4 decisions, God almighty, you have a card of the year contender here, because after those 4 decisions, it became really good. I'll get into the fights, but there was some very good finishes and some very, very good fights as well. So all in all, I would say it's a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10. We go a 7.7 card here on the Dave Portnoy scale. It was a pretty good card overall. So let's get into some of the fights. Honestly, and you know as well, one thing, we often criticize PFL and Bellator. I'm not criticize them necessarily, but I think it's just unfortunate sometimes the way the fights work. It doesn't end the right way. This time they had the best tournament fight as high up as they wanted to put it. They had the fight that in Whiteford. I always call him Whitaker, and I guarantee I'll do it again. Whiteford against Huerta, who could have been, but the bigger names, I suppose, especially in Scotland, they put that in the right spot, and then they put the fight that they knew was probably going to deliver, get a finish, get the home people on side at the very top, and they did it. So I think the card placement by him was right, and I think they deserve credit for that, because a lot of times I think there's a criticism on that sort of thing, and this is certainly not one of those times. So credit to them for that. Right, let's get into the main event, because that was a real fun fight as well. I have it down here, and it's right. 4:24 of round one. This felt like more than a 4-minute fight, to be honest, because I actually finished this. The UFC main event started. I watched that, and then I've come straight out here to record this afterwards. I'm like, that went to the second round, and I'm just looking here, Sherlock. No, it actually did. But a lot happened. So the fight immediately and I suppose there was no feeling out process here, and that's why it feels like a bit of a longer fight, but in a good way. Lulong fought Stevie Ray. Actually, first thing I'll say here, Stevie's fought up 45 before, as he 55 all his life. This is at 170. He weighed in at 170.4. I'm just looking here. I'll tell you what, Stevie Ray is not a welterweight. He, you could see it on him. He was a big boy in there. He's, I'd say if this fight had went any longer, maybe it could have been a bit of a struggle. I don't know. No, maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But yeah, I think I know this was kind of a retirement fight. But if Stevie was to fight again, I definitely think it'd be down at 155 or lower even. But at the same time, he got through it okay here. So the fight started off. Lulong, I didn't really necessarily go in for a takedown, or did it kind of present itself, or is that kind of what just happened? But anyway, the takedown from Lulong ended with Stevie going for the guillotine. And he was in that guillotine for ages. It looked like at the start is very, very good. And then it looked like, okay, Lulong is going to kind of survive here. And then it was like, oh, is he going to survive? But then Stevie tried to adjust to kind of get the high arm guillotine, is that what you call it? And when he adjusted, and I like, those adjustments often work, especially for someone who's good on the ground as Stevie, but give great credit to Lulong. When Stevie made his adjustment, Lulong also adjusted, and he kind of moved to the side control where he was almost in, a kind of an arm triangle position rather than himself getting guillotined at the other side. So Stevie really didn't have the ability to do it from that side because of Long's move. So that was really, really good. Lou landed a lovely knee then, and then he landed a lovely knee to the body as well, kind of on the way up. And it was at this point you could kind of see Stevie's, it's not a welterweight, because there was, I know Lou has fought down as well before, but he has fought obviously a lot of welterweight. But there was a few times in this where you kind of see the strength of Lulong made the difference maybe at times. But Stevie got a takedown again, got into the side control. Stevie quickly took the back, went for an arm bar, but it looked pretty good. It looked on, but Lou got out. He got to the top position, landed some ground and pound. He got up, but Stevie Ray got a takedown again. Then Ray got onto the back into the RNC position. And, usually you would tell a person, right, you're getting rear naked choked here. They have your back. They have the body triangle in, I think it was. Now, a more jiu-jitsu based scholar would probably explain this better to you, but here we go. Stevie has him in the rear naked choke. Lou is on top, and then Lou decides, right, I'm getting out of this rear naked choke. I'm going to turn over. I'm going to get on top. But you're fighting Stevie Ray, and this is the man with the Scottish twister, and what Lou would normally think is an advantageous move turned out not to be. He just put himself straight into the Scottish twister. I don't even know how this works, I'll be honest. I just know it when I see it. Stevie Ray did something with his legs, with his arms, with his body, and Lulong tapped to the Scottish twister, which he has landed over and over and over again, and it must be an unbelievably hard thing to get out of, and an easy thing to get into, if you want to put it that way. But it was absolutely unbelievable, and a lovely finish here from Stevie Long. Stevie Ray. Stephen Long, I'm thinking of. Stephen Long. Who's Stephen Long? I'm thinking of what's the Irish soccer player? What's the Irish soccer player? The striker's name? Anyway, Shane Long, I'm thinking of. No, Stevie Ray, Lou Long. Great win for Stevie, and he goes off into the sunset now after a lovely, lovely win there. But he's some man. He's some man to get you into that position, kind of lull you into a false sense of security and finish you there. So lovely, lovely win for him there. After that, then in the co-main event, we had the aforementioned fight between Roger Huerta and Robert Whiteford. And this on paper, you kind of look at it and you probably go, oh, and I think I did coming in the preview last week, what's this about? You know, Roger Huerta's a bit long and do it. And you look and you say Robert Whiteford is an older gentleman as well, and he is. And I'll tell you what this ended up being is a great advertisement for the people who want seniors mixed martial arts. Because this is what it was. They both went in there and they both looked a little bit older. They both looked very slow. But, you know, if Demetrius Johnson, maybe Demetrius is a bad example, but if Davidson Figueiredo is fighting Peter Yan coming up, right? If those lads are fighting at 100%, you know, right at the top of their game, right at the top of their speed, these lads are probably fighting at a good, you know, 36%, you know, but they were both at 36%, right? So matchmaking is bad if you have someone at 100% fighting someone at 36%, or someone at 36% fighting someone at 100%. But if you have 100% fighting 100% and 36% to fighting 36%, then we're cool. And this is what this was, and there was nothing at all wrong with it. You know, it was a good fight. I would say it was way better than I imagined. I thought both lads, you know, okay, they didn't look like they did in their primes, but they both made a good account of themselves and fought well. So let's run through it. Both came out with southpaws, both kicking low. Honestly, they both fought very similarly, to be honest. Jabs from both. Rob stung him with a left hand and then rocked him with an uppercut. And I was kind of thinking at that stage, okay, is Huerta going to be able to take much more of this? Because Robert Whiteford was hitting hard, definitely early. Then Roger himself landed a hard left hand. Rob was landing some good 1-2s. As I said here, both a bit slow, but landing some good stuff. As you know, Huerta kind of got through that initial getting hurt period, quickly kind of came back into it, and you know, more than likely lost the first round to Robert Whiteford. The second round, though, much closer and much better from Roger Huerta as well. To start it though, Whiteford looked much more loose, and he looked, you know, like a younger version of himself there for a while at the start of the second. He knocked Roger down with leg kicks, then landed a lovely counter hook, which was a shot that was landing throughout the night for him. Then Roger landed a straight right, which was very nice. And he landed a few of them. He landed one real hard one down the middle, and he landed a combination of 5 or 6 shots, did Roger Huerta. That was probably the best combination in the fight. Very, very good stuff. Robert didn't kind of win for a takedown because of that, you know, because Huerta was doing so well. But both landed some nice left hands. Roger was kind of unloading in at one stage. Both were landing towards the end. But, you know, Whiteford landed some good stuff at the very end as well. But I thought throughout the round, I thought Roger Huerta did better. And I had it 1-1 going into the third. I think the difference in the third was Robert Whiteford was tired and Roger Huerta was older, if you want to put it that way. And I think it's easier to fight tired than old. maybe a saying we need to incorporate it every way. But both off in the exchanges. Roger Huerta went for a takedown, I think, but it was no good. He landed a right hand in the dirty box. Actually, there's some good dirty boxing in this third round. That was probably the highlight. Roger tried for a takedown in the clinch 3 times more, thrice, but none of them, all 3 of them were no good, unfortunately for him. Rob landed a left hand as Roger Huerta's eye closed up. And Whiteford landed some more straight shots. Roger came back though, and he did land a few late, but then there was a late takedown from Robert Whiteford. I do think he was his head at that stage, and when you're ahead, when you get a late takedown, you know your opponent doesn't have the ability to win that back off you, and that's exactly what happened. And Robert Whiteford won the unanimous decision here. There was a great comeback win in the next fight for Mark Ewen, who went in there, fought a very slow, smart, centered fight, I would say here, and he got to finish very, very quickly. In fact, 3:30, exactly halfway point of round 1. I hope no one had the over. Would that win? Would that win over half round? I don't know. So Ewen came out and took the center, got a takedown against the cage. There's an illegal kick from the bottom from Yassin Chtatou, but they got back fighting again. Ewen kind of picked some lovely shots from standing above. He landed one. So Chtatou was on his back. Ewen stood over him, and there was one beautiful, Dan Hardy said in commentary, beautiful right hand right down through the middle to the grounded opponent. It's one of my pet peeves, really, and there's another fight in a minute I'll talk about. When a guy is standing up over another guy, he should be allowed punch him and hit him and kick him for as long as he wants, as long as it's not illegal. I hate when the referees interfere there. Big John McCarthy said it a few weeks ago that position is allowed and they can do that. So there's nothing wrong with it. Anyway, but for that position, Ewen was on top, saw the neck opening, win for the Dyer show, got it, and got the tap. And big win for him, obviously. You know, he's a highly, highly touted prospect, looks really, really good. Lost his last fight to Claudio Pazzella, which a lot of people are very shocked by, including myself, but he showed his bounce back ability and won this one here. Very, very good win for him there. We talked about, obviously, Garnett and McGrillen-Evans, as much as I'd like to talk about that again, and we've enough talked about that. But the winner of that fight will be fighting Alexander Luster in the finale. And I'll tell you what, okay, the Francis Ngannou fight, a few UFC title fights, and maybe a couple of other fights. Apart from those, this fight is going to be a banger. Lewis McGrillen was brilliant, but Alexander Luster, God almighty, this guy is a real top prospect. So Lopez came out throwing wild. Luster was just picking him off. And sometimes when a guy comes out wild and you're young enough in your career, that can be tough. That can absolutely be tough. But he looks so good. Fell over from a leg kick at one stage, got up, and then Luster just dropped him, subbed him, looked absolutely mega, looked brilliant. This guy is a real top prospect. Got him with the rear naked choke in the end, only took a minute and 15, so not too much to report on that. But Alexander Luster versus Lewis McGrillen-Evans, the finale in December, isn't it? December, I believe, yeah. What a fight, and tune in for that one, lads, tune in for that one. Then we had controversial enough decision here, I would say. Florim Zendeli beat Jack Grant via split decision, close one. Although I know Dyer Ransom was on this and he scored it for Zendeli. He's one of the best judges in the world, so if he saw it that way, he's probably right, let's be honest. So the fight opened up with leg kicks by both men. This was a good fight. This wasn't one of the decisions there was a bad fight. This was a good fight. Grant landed a hook combination in it. He went for a trip, but it was no good. Zendeli landed 2 low blows then, and there was a third actually as well. I don't think the third was that much really. I think they made a little bit too much of it. Zendeli was punching well then after that, kind of opened up a little bit, but Grant hit him with a big right hand and knocked him down. I honestly think the fight could have been stopped then. Maybe it was a little bit of wishful thinking with like 5 fights left to go or something, but no, the fight went on. Grant was way more active at the start of the second, and in fact the start of the third as well. But the second, I thought he was too rushed. Zendeli went for a takedown. He didn't get it, but on the second attempt he did get it. Then there was a long clinch. Grant landed a nice right hand. Then Zendeli landed 2. I keep almost calling him Zendaya here, but Zendeli. He landed 2 right hands of his own. Then a Grant knee. And then there was a big scrap and a tie-up. Something you don't see that much, kind of Muay Thai clinches on each other. And some good shots in there. A lot of dirty boxing on this card as well. Great. It was very fun for that. But anyway, Grant kind of got, I don't know, did he get knocked down or he just kind of tripped or something? I was kind of taking my notes at the time and I kind of half missed it. But some ground and pound from Zella on top. Took the back and 2 hooks in. And they're thinking at that stage 1-1. Third round then, Grant came out swinging again, as I said early. Zendeli went for a takedown. Grant ended up taking the back door, went for the armbar, but Zendeli slid out. There was blood everywhere then at that stage coming out of Zendeli, I believe. There was a kind of a bizarre clinch break then from the referee. I'm thinking it didn't go on that long. He was just about to move to position. He was actually looking like he could have transitioned and got maybe a trip or pulled the guard to go for a guillotine or something like that if he'd moved a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, clinch again. Then Zendeli went for a takedown and took the back, got 2 hooks in, but kind of fell off. Then got into half guard, got up, and then he landed a takedown or 2 more. So, maybe now that I read my notes back, maybe Zendeli was the one. I don't know. I just kind of and I wasn't scoring it live because I was obviously taking the notes and trying to analyze it. But I did think Grant had won, but judging by those notes, reading back, more of a Zendeli, and good win for him. And he will in the final. Shockingly enough, I would think for most people, meet Daniele Miceli. Now, if you would ask people before this who'd be meeting the 175, they would have said Jack Grant and Ibrahima Mane. I would have thought. I think the bookies would have said that as well, if I'm not mistaken. But this was a quick win for Daniele Miceli. Mane came out swinging, as he does invariably. Daniele went for a takedown attempt. And then they got against the cage. You've never seen this before. And you know, on the cage, there's like a line of posters, like, you know, Monster, Toyo Tires, whatever, like 5 of them. Next week it's going to be fucking Peter Queally versus Ricky Pitbull or whatever. That actually fell off and stuck to Mane, and they were actually fighting in the clinch for like 30 seconds with the poster stuck to Mane. And I believe Derek Hickey was the referee. And actually, shout out to Derek for this fight, because we gave him a bit of criticism last week. Great stoppage in this. No messing this week. No quick stand-ups or anything like that. So Derek did a great job this week. Have to give him a shout-out. Very, very good stoppage here in this fight. But yeah, he pulled the poster off quick enough and he threw it out. So good job on that as well. But this fight ended very, very quickly. And there was a kind of a 4-strike combination from Daniele Miceli. One of the shocks of the year, in fact, I would say. I'll have to pull up the price here in a second. But there was a kind of a front kick, short left, and then 2 uppercuts, the second of which knocked Mane out, and then there was some ground and pound after that, and Derek Hickey came in very quickly. He gave Mane the opportunity, but he didn't take that opportunity, and it was a correct, rightful stoppage, and a very, very good one too, I must say. Just looking up the prices here, Miceli, here we go, plus 850, Daniele Miceli was to win that. So if you had him backed, not a bad one at all. Not a bad one at all. I don't think I gave it as one of my bets of the week anyway. Next fight then we had Daniele Scatizzi against Jakub Kaszuba. I'll tell you what, Daniele Scatizzi fought, and the 2 fights before that, his sister Valentina Scatizzi fought, and they both lost decisions. And I'll tell you what, both of them very much fought well, and probably, you know, had the toughest opponents on the night, and stood up and, as I said, fought very, very well. Scatizzi here fought Jakub Kaszuba, the champion from last year, who will go into the finale again after the win here. So it's a quick... And this was one of the fights that wasn't a classic. No, let's be honest here. Kind of a quick start from both of them led to a clinch. And, you know, that was kind of the whole fight. Daniele wins it until the break. Then Kaszuba fails on a takedown. Needs to head in the clinch from Kaszuba. And this was the fight, actually, the dirty boxing in this fight was such a highlight that I actually wouldn't call it a bad fight. I enjoyed the dirty boxing. It wasn't a bad fight. It was a good fight. Scatizzi landed some great dirty boxing, lots of shots in the clinch, and then Kaszuba answered back. He landed some lovely dirty boxing. Both again, very even round. Jakub landed some nice knees on the break. Jakub landed a late flurry in the clinch, which was probably the best shots of the round and probably won him the round as well, I would suggest. Jakub came out at the start of the second harder, landed a good few shots. Then Scatizzi clinched. Jakub nearly got a trip takedown, but didn't quite get it. But then did get a double leg takedown. Took the back with one hook in, but Scatizzi managed to get back up. Jakub went for a takedown again, and Scatizzi went for a takedown, which didn't materialize, and Jakub nearly got the back. Not a great round there. Not a great round. Round 3 more open, better than the last round. But again, Jakub was just landing the slightly better shots. But I thought he looked tired, and there was a kind of a clinch at the halfway point, and there was a long clinch. Jakub got a takedown, and they both kind of looked very tired as this one kind of came to an end here. But Kaszuba won, and it was a good win, and he deserved to win that. Let's just talk about we'll finish this one off, because this is the other division here. So Jakub Kaszuba in the finale will meet Connor Hughes, and again another one that maybe Hughes can have maybe a sigh of relief here. I picked Hughes as one of my bets of the week. He was minus 175, and I still picked him. And I'll tell you what, it was even though he won, it was a bad pick. It was a bad pick. Capella is a good fighter, and I knew that coming in. But I think Capella, it's one of those fights, right? If this was in one championship, Capella would have won, because the fight as a whole, Capella was the better fighter. But just probably did enough to nick a few rounds. It was a close fight. To start it off, Hughes was active, but off the mark early. Landed a bit of a leg kick, and then Capella lands some lovely counter hooks. Both were kind of adjusting to range early in this fight, and honestly throughout it. I think range was the story of this fight. And the kind of counter right hands from Capella were the best shots that he landed from range and the best shots that either of them landed from range. The leg kicks from Hughes were the best, but again, they weren't as good or weren't as big as the counters from Capella over the top of some of those kicks. Capella landed some 2 fast left hooks, some right hands by Hughes, but not as big. Capella was landing much harder. Hughes, his kicks were getting eaten alive at one stage, and definitely Capella round for me in the first. The second and third were much closer. Hughes was trying to control the distance more, but Capella's shots were just better at the start of the second round. Again, Capella leg kick and a left hook was just more than Hughes' jabs that aren't really landing at a stage. But halfway through that round, Hughes did start to land better and Capella looked a little bit tired. And this is where Hughes came back into it. He was landing the longer kicks. They looked better this time. And they looked better because Capella wasn't countering them. He was kind of too tired to counter them at this stage. He did land a late left hand. It was a close round, but I'd lean Hughes. I think just not enough shots from Capella here in the second. And the third, forward, close exchanges to start this round. That kind of led into Hughes going for his first takedown try that didn't land. And I was very surprised. Like, coming in my preview, I thought Hughes would wrestle in that more, but he didn't. I didn't even for another takedown attempt, but I think that kind of opened up a few leg kicks and stuff. Capella too tired to counter. Then there was a clinch, failed takedown again from Hughes to the clinch. Hughes then went for another takedown, but it looked so tired, and he falls to the bottom with 65 seconds left. And he was in half guard, was Capella, but landed nothing until the last 65 seconds. And you just feel if he had opened up and landed 5 shots there, this fight would have been his. But it wasn't to be for him, as Hughes wins. So you have the finale of Kaszuba and Hughes. I think probably the finale they would have wanted, if we're being honest. So that's that in the lightweight division. The women's flyweight division, also the same. Probably got the finale they would have wanted, with Shanelle, Dyer and Paulina Wisniewska both winning decisions here, but very different decisions. Shanelle Dyer won a split decision, and someone who was traveling today asked me, was this a split decision? Was this right? And was it a split decision? But could Scatizzi have won? And I said absolutely, she could have won. Very, very close fight altogether. I thought Shanelle Dyer myself just nicked it, but very good fight. Very, very close fight. Valentina came out, and again, let me just pull up the price of this just to show you. This ended up a split decision, but the price coming into this fight was Shanelle Dyer minus 1,200 on some places, plus 750 for Scatizzi. Now that tells you the story of this fight. So Valentina Scatizzi landed a lovely jab to start it off. There was kicks from Dyer, lovely leg kicks, especially from Dyer, but a good right hand from Valentina. You're thinking, okay, she's started well here. Let's see how this goes. Dyer started to kind of open up with her jab, but she did start to kind of eat up the legs as the round was going on. Valentina ended up switching a little bit. There was a hard right hand by Dyer, and then the lead hand was just constantly landing from Scatizzi, which really, in a fight like this where the one person is like massively favoured, you very rarely see like the lead hand being a key for the underdog throughout long periods of the fight, but that's what it was here. Dyer's outside kicks though were just a little bit too much in this first round and were a big part of it. And I think, I haven't seen the scorecards yet, but I believe she won this first round. Valentina did try for a takedown late, but it was no good. And Dyer landed a few kicks to the body. So despite the good start, I think Dyer took that one. The second round, though, very interesting. Dyer was jabbing up Valentina, but then she landed 2 hard right hands and another hard jab. And you're thinking, okay, right, this is where Dyer is supposed to take over. But she just didn't. You could argue that her early jabbing dominance was actually outweighed by what Scatizzi did in there. And I don't think that'd be unfair at all. She was doing so well. She was doing so well. And those 3 shots were so good that Dyer went for a takedown. And that tells you a lot of the story here. And she was probably smart to do it as well. Dyer got into guard, but then they got quickly back up. Her Valentina landed some jabs again. Dyer was struggling at this point. She got the clinched at Valentina, back into the open, and Dyer landed a big right hand at this stage, but Valentina was still landing. She landed a big 1-2 at one stage. Now, Dyer did land a big flying knee towards the end of the round, and it might have been enough to take it. But I'd scored that round for Scatizzi, so I had it 1-1 going into the final round, and this one was very, very close. Valentina was out jabbing her early, but Dyer started landing a few. And inside, Dyer landed a few, but inside 2 minutes, Scatizzi had landed more and was ahead, in my opinion. Dyer landed a lovely knee to the body and a nice counter hook combination as well. Valentina got into a clinch. Dyer landed some good stuff after it broke, and then some knees from the Dyer as she kind of quickly breaks from the next clinch that happened. So at that stage, you're thinking, okay, Dyer's probably slightly ahead here. Valentina was looking a bit tired, but she landed a lovely left hook from a break at one stage. Dyer landed a couple of lovely knees to the body and another kick to the body as well. There was a late clinch from Valentina, and then Dyer landed a body kick and some knees late as well. So, you know, one of those ones where the first 2 minutes from Valentina probably didn't outweigh the last 3 minutes, I think, from Dyer, and that's why Dyer got the win. But a very, very close fight. You could argue it was like a 50-50 fight, to be honest, and great showing from Valentina Scatizzi, but Shanelle Dyer moves on, and you know what? Shanelle needs that. Shanelle needed a test like that, and she did a great job and won it. The Karolina Wojcik, Paulina Wisniewska fight was the snooze fest of the night, let's put it that way. This one wasn't a classic. Paulina was kicking from Lint. Karolina was going on, kind of trying to come in, being the much shorter lady here. Karolina got a takedown, but quickly got back up, landed some leg kicks, back down again, stuck in an omoplata. Kicked the down fighter, ref stood him up, got into a clinch again, and Paulina took the back off of kind of an athletic takedown and goes for the choke, but didn't get it. In the second round, Paulina was kind of her long kicks again into the clinch there, and Paulina dominated, but she couldn't get the takedown. And then they were separated, clinched again, separated, clinched again, and it was just one of those rounds where Wisniewska was just dominating the clinch, but there was nothing happening. Pretty bad round. And in the third, Paulina landed a big right hand early. Karolina was trying to get in close, and she kind of got caught because of that, and Paulina got into the clinch again. And that was it. You know, I think Karolina Wojcik is probably as good, if not better, of a fighter. She's not a 125 pounder, I don't think. I think she's probably better off fighting at 105 pounds rather than 125 pounds. And Wisniewska won this fight based on size. Now, Wisniewska's a good fighter again, and Wojcik did make it hard for her, but, you know, Wisniewska won pretty handily. And she'll be a tough test for Shanelle Dyer, I think, in the finale. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and see how that works out. The rest of the fights then were kind of showcase fights, and we will run through them pretty quickly. Lorenzo Parente fought Stefano Catole, and Parente ended up winning. Both came out moving fast, some nice jabs, clinched up. Both kind of won and lost the position a good bit at the start here, even enough stuff. But then Stefano got a trip, takedown. Lorenzo got the armbar, and he tapped. So win via armbar very, very quickly. 145 of the first round for Lorenzo Parente. Then we had the Irish-trained Matthias Zravas against Brian Hislop. Zaharovs, I always screw up his name, against Brian Hislop, actually. This was a pretty good fight. Very even, good matchmaking as well, I would say. Zaharov's southpaw long lead. Hislop was kind of the lower, more powerfully looking built guy. Hislop landed a nice left hook, but Matthias landed a left hand as Brian kind of kicks his body. Both kicked the body pretty well throughout the fight, and especially through the first round. Matthias was landing the better, though. I think Hislop went into southpaw then midway through for a while and kind of went back again. He went for a takedown to Brian, but it was kind of no good. Then there's a ball shot by Hislop, and he came out after it, and he landed a lovely combination, which was answered. And then he went for a bit of a level change, and it really helped Hislop, I think. And he went for it halfway through the round, and I think it helped him because Dan Hardy said in the commentary, Zaharovs was kind of looking for a little bit more than he normally would be, and I think that helped him. But anyway, big exchange to start the second round. Zaharovs knocks him down with a clinched knee, gets on top and guard, big ground and pound, went for a Kimura, high stop, nearly got up, but Zaharov's went for a good guillotine, takes the back into the transition with about 50 seconds left, puts in the rear naked choke, and finishes him in the 4:18 of the second round. Good win for him. Enough of the bantamweight tournament next year. I'm sure he'll be thereabouts. Same could be said for Gemma Auld at the women's 125-pound division. She picked up a very good first-round win over Veronika Petruska. Veronika got a takedown early, but then she got swept. Landed some ground and pounded Gemma. Gemma needs to be called Gemma Auld Triangle. She has to be. Anyway, armbar by Veronika, no good. But big ground and pound by Auld. Another armbar try, no good. Big hammer fist by Auld here. Third armbar, no good. Auld is absolutely battering her. Landed some big shots after big shots after big shots. And with 10 seconds left, she ended up getting the finish and getting the win. And that was the card in totality. So let's run through these 14 results again, as I invariably do. Gemma Auld beat Veronika Petruska via first round TKO at 4:50. In the second fight, we had a second round 4:18 win for Matthias Zaharovs against Brian Hislop, or Hislop even. 1:45 of round one was a submission by armbar for Lorenzo Parente against Stefano Catcoli. In the women's flyweight tournament, there was a win for Shanelle Dyer and Paulina Wisniewska, respectively, over the respective fighters Valentina Scatizzi and Karolina Wojcik, both by decision. There's also decision wins for both Kaszuba and Hughes against Scatizzi and Capella, respectively, in the lightweight division. Then Daniele Miceli with the shock of the night, knocked out after 1:26 of round one. Ibrahima Mane. Florim Zendeli won the split decision against Jack Grant to meet Miceli in the finale. In the bantamweight division, Alexander Luster sets up an absolute glamour tie against Lewis McGrillen later on in the year. 1:15 round one for Luster against Julien Lopez after McGrillen knocked out Dean Garnett at 1:45 of round three in that fight of the year candidate. Then we Mark Ewen submitted Yassin Kaszuba with a Bravo choke at the halfway point of the first round. Robert Whiteford won the unanimous decision over Roger Huerta, and there was a Scottish twister for Stevie fucking Ray over Lewis Long in the main event at 2:42 of the very first round. All right, everybody, I think this might be the longest review show I've done so far. I usually try to keep the half an hour, but we're 42 minutes today, but sure, why not? Thank you to everybody for tuning in. My name is Sean Sheehan for ShareDog.com. If you enjoyed this, tell a friend. Please subscribe. Let us know in the comment section below what you think. And we'll see you all next time. Good luck.